Hi, welcome back, everybody. I hope you're here. I'm excited. I'm a little disappointed because we only have one of our two guests. And I don't know, the rest of you who know him need to guilt Jamie into like clicking the link and jumping in with us so that we can talk about this. Look, I keep turning the wrong way. Look, I even put a backdrop with a fire pit. How's that, right? Landscaping. I'm going to bring on Amy because, first of all, I don't know how much you know, but in our local area, we have people who specialize in things. And both Jamie and Amy came out of another company, started their own companies, and they've really shown that there's always business for everybody to go around. And they're very talented. I've seen them personally with clients of mine work on really tiny budgets and work on really amazing budgets and create kinds of awesome things. So let's bring in Amy. Hey.
Good morning.
I'm glad
How
to
are
have you here at least. I don't know. I mean, I'm really sorry Jamie's not here.
I know. I don't know where he is. Maybe he's working.
Yeah,
because we
that's
can
right.
go back to work now, so he might be working.
I know. Isn't this perfect with the governor?
Yeah.
You can go back to work. I can't go back to work, but you can go back to work. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it's exciting. Grass is growing, plants are growing, flowers are blooming. We needed to get back to work. So yes, this is very exciting.
Do you do much snow plowing in the off season as well for your team or not?
I don't do any snow plowing. I spend the winters designing and basically getting ready for the springtime. So no snow plowing. I leave that to Jamie. That's his forte.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say. They must be chomping at the bit because we really didn't have that much snow this year either. So that made it really challenging.
Exactly. We hardly had any. So it was a nice early spring. So we got an early start this year and then had to stop everything and take a break. But now, this week going forward, we can get back to work.
I just got a little Nick Kish just said he wanted to know if I had a green screen or I'd snuck away because I've been got my background. I don't know about anyone else, but it's not been easy to get away in this way. Like I'm chomping at the bit. I want to be out showing homes. I want to be out helping people. I mean, I have a couple of listings. They have visual, they have Matterport. So I'm going to do some more virtual open houses, which is something I've always loved to do, but I just want to be out there.
I know.
How many people have you had lots of people wanting you to start work already?
So yesterday I had more phone calls in a 2-hour period than I had in the last 6 weeks. This is our busy time. Our phones are typically ringing off the hook. Can't call people back fast enough. But it has been really quiet the last 4 or 5 weeks. But yesterday it was great. The phone started ringing again. People were excited. They know I can come and mow their yard. They know I can get back to work on some of our larger projects we have going so far this spring. We have a couple critical and essential projects we were able to work on the last week for the city of South Haven, the downtown Center Street project. We have the hardscapes there, some patios, some walls that are going in, some pillars with planters. So we were able to work this past week on that. And then starting Monday, we'll hit the ground running with maintenance and other projects that we have that, people don't deem essential for everyone, but, the homeowners deem it essential. So we're going to get back to work.
I was talking to one of my clients' friends who's one of your clients, and I was like, it was like 1 o'clock, and she's like, oh, so I'll call her in the next day or two. I'm like, no, call her now. I said, everybody else is going to hear it. If you want to get this done, get it done now.
Yeah, so we were pretty much booked up through 4th of July before this. So now we're about 5 weeks behind. So I'm hoping for patience this spring. I'm hoping my clients are patient and they understand, and our schedules that were so on track to begin with are now just out the window. And we will do the best we can to move forward and get things done and get things growing, and so people can enjoy their outdoor spaces, which seems to be something that people want to do more so now than ever before.
I think that's true, and I think especially after a lot of people have felt like they've been locked in. And I mean, look, we know that we've had a couple of nice days, but like today it's miserable out here again. And I know people just want to be able to go outside, not to be in the mud. What you said though brings to mind, a lot of people think it's a really quick and simple process. How long, give me an example of a really small job and a really big job, and what type of timelines does it take to get it done?
So there's a lot of people, that have smaller homes in town and good, city of South Haven homes. And they just have small landscapes, and they want to put a new bed with some flowers. That's something that takes a half a day to a day, to come in, cut the bed, remove the sod, get some plants, have a design in hand, put the plants in, mulch the beds, and then, that's an easy, simple job. Then the more complicated, complex jobs, people want fire pits, they want patios, they want outdoor kitchens. Those can take weeks. That's a lot of planning. We have designs, almost engineer plans, basically. You've got dimensions. It's not as organic. That's definitely something that's more laid out on paper, lay it out on the ground, and then build it. So that's where the design build part of the aspect of landscaping comes in. That can take weeks, sometimes months, to pull together an entire landscape, especially if you have underground sprinklers, and then paperwork, plants. It's all process, and it can take a while.
I think that's one of the things a lot of people think it's unrealistic. I mean, especially in this age of, look, it's more than a decade and a half that HGTV and DIYs, they get out there and you watch them in 30 minutes put these like massive things in. And the reality is it took 5 days of just implementation without seeing the rest of it.
Right, exactly. We do a lot of planning in the winter, a lot of ordering. My supply chain, they have to get their products. I get the products from them, and it is definitely a process, especially new home construction. And this, we've worked together on new home construction before. I like to be in from before the house is even probably designed. If I can get in on the ground floor and then take off with the client and develop that relationship, that is the best, and just work for years. Sometimes I work with clients for years prior to even breaking ground on landscaping. And that's the way I like to operate, though, because then you make sure all those details are in place before you begin.
Exactly. Hey, before we move on, we actually have a question. Shannon Carey says she lost all her lavender winter. She wants to know what type of lavender is hardy in South Haven.
There's a lot of different varieties. I like Munstead and Hidcote the best. They just seem to tolerate the really cold winters. Like this winter was really mild. Our knockout shrub roses, our lavender, these should come back beautifully this spring. But yes, 2018 was, what was it, the polar vortex? We lost roses that we've never lost before. We lost lavender. So you just get those really, a lot of the English lavenders and stuff, but Munstead, Hidcote, you can get those from your local garden centers, and those tend to be the best ones for this area.
It might be labor intensive, but is it worth doing things like, what do you guys call it? We call it Hessian burlap. Is it worth burlapping plants that you're attached to, or is it just like it's going to happen?
So I burlap plants more because of deer. The deer will eat anything and everything in this area. They're hungry in the wintertime, so burlap helps, prevent some of that. You can get those cones and cover them, but a lot of time I feel like it's like you just plant it, and it's good in this area and it's going to work in this area. It'll make it. And there's some things that, because we're a zone 6 right along the lakeshore, we're zone 6. So that's our gardening zone, and because of that, we can plant things that are a little more tolerant of cold weather. But when we get years like 2018, we'll lose them. We'll lose them all winter long, and then it's really sad. But hey, we're attempting fate by planting plants that might not typically grow here.
For a personal thing, I grew up in Australia. It gets cold in winter, but it also doesn't get this cold where I lived. And we always had lemon trees, like all year round. And I've seen these lemon trees, which they say will grow in this area, but I'm too afraid to do that. Do you think they grow or not?
I use them as patio plants. I love putting lemon trees out in big pots in the winter. You can try moving them inside. I just recommend spraying them down before you move them, because insects will take over in the wintertime. A lot of people move them into their basements or garage. I like them to use them as tropicals. I think that they look nice, and you get a couple of fruit in the summertime, and then just kind of be done with it. Call it what it is. It's a nice tropical patio plant.
Which is kind of crazy because literally we would have so many lemons that we would like throw them in the mulch beds because, you know, we just had too many of them.
Yes.
Actually, we've got another question. Nick has a question. He's got a new lawn. So he wants to know, when's the best time to lay grass seed, and is it a good idea to rototill before you get a new lawn?
Well, kind of guess depends. But the best time to lay grass seed is in the early spring or in the fall. But yeah, rototilling, you want to probably do a soil sample, and you can send it to Michigan State Extension. See what your soil looks like. Is it sandy? Is there, you have a lot of clay? Do you have a lot of good black composted topsoil? Obviously, when we put in new lawns, you know, we use equipment and bobcats, and you know, we usually top dress with at least 3 to 6 inches of fresh topsoil. But yeah, to work up the soil is good before you put some seed down. So if it's a good time and you're at home and you have the time to rototill, yeah, absolutely. And if you can't rototill, I would definitely recommend raking, at least doing some sort of hard rake on it before you throw the seed down. And then, like I said, amending with some good black dirt if you can.
Okay. I mean, obviously it's an expense, but would you recommend, like, how much is the difference between like laying sod and doing grass seed?
So sod is typically Kentucky bluegrass. I mean, it's a sun-loving grass. You're gonna want to make sure you're not putting it in shade because it will not live in shade. I mean, we've tried. I have clients that want me to come back and sod their yard every year just so they can have that sod look. But it's in shade, and you know they know it's not going to grow. I know it's not going to grow. So sod is great for sunny yards. There's some differences between sod and, you know, seeding a yard. Sod's going to be late to green up in the spring. It just is. But it is that instant gratification. Sod is. I love sod. I love sod because it is just like, it is the necklace on a perfect outfit. You know, you put it on and it's absolutely beautiful when you're done. I don't recommend sod if you don't have an underground sprinkler system because it needs to be watered multiple times during the day throughout the first week until it takes root. Seed is easier. It just is. You don't, you know, it's more forgiving. You know, you can water it once a day. You can forget to water it one day and water it the next day. And seed greens up faster in the spring. So, you know, it usually greens up a couple weeks earlier. It's different. You can get different blends of seed. You can get blends that do well in shade. You can get blends that do well in sunnier spots, and then even a combination of both. So, but yes, if he's got a yard and he's looking to reseed the whole yard, yes, probably rototilling that yard up, adding some fresh topsoil. That would be the way I would go on that for sure.
Yeah, he's got a new construction yard, so yeah, he has an opportunity.
So he probably has a lot of, you know, compaction from equipment being in there. So yes, if that's a new yard, I would highly recommend rototilling that first.
So when we look at like doing, I want to go back to, you were talking about patios and how long it takes to organize or stuff like that. What, I mean, is there, obviously I think the materials would change in cost. Is there ways to do it economically? Are there products that people adore, but they're really just expensive, waste of time? Like, what do you find when you're designing?
You know, so a lot of times it's the style of the house. New construction, that I've been doing most of my work. I'd say 90% of my work the past 3 years has been new construction. So we take into account the style of the house, their personal style. I mean, some people like the English garden. Some people want more of a modern look. So a lot of the stone that we choose depends on the style of the house and their overall style of what they like and what they enjoy. So you have things from natural stone, which would include flagstone, patios and pavers, and then you have pavers. So there's different kinds of pavers, different quality of pavers, different sizes of pavers. You know, the trend right now is large pavers, slabs, big slabby stone. The more traditional cottage is smaller stones. So there are within like pavers, there's different scales of pavers. You can get, the ones that are less expensive. They're usually smaller stones, and then you can get the ones that are more expensive, the larger slabbier stones, which tend to lend to a more modern, contemporary look, as opposed to more of an English garden look. So you have natural stone versus man-made stone.
And what's the expense? How expensive does get one from the other?
Natural stone typically is more expensive than a man-made stone. You can get, we can go to big box stores and buy pavers. You can go to Menards, or you can get different quality, and there is a difference in quality of stone. I'm not going to go and name any specific ones, but there is a difference in quality in paver, man-made paver material, to color being all the way through the paver or just being on the top. If you notice some old stones, they kind of get pits in them, and you can see in the cement itself, or if it keeps that really smooth look over time. We've come a long way in the paver world. And, there's pavers that actually look like natural stone. Now, you'll see pavers that look and shape like flagstone. So, it is all over the board. But yes, there are economical ways to doing it, and then there are very expensive ways to doing it. So you can get it. You can get both.
So because so many people are finding things in their homes because they're spending more times in their homes. I saw a Facebook friend saying that she found one of those concrete paver stencils where you put the concrete in it and you lift it out. Are those things effective?
I don't know that I've ever used one, but I think certainly if it's like as a DIYer, it would be great to, try it. I've just never personally had the time. I don't have the time to do anything for myself. My landscape is horrible. So, but yeah, that would actually be fun to try while you're at home, putting some concrete in there and making little stepping stones through a garden for sure.
So we've got another question. This one, I'm going to see if I can make this look different. Is this going to work? No, it's not going to work. All right. So it's Patricia says you designed her yard in 2011. She loves it. She's ready to add a fence and a small garage. What kind of designer do we call to plan those features? I would have thought it was you. And changing in plantings. Do you need a landscaper, an architect, or both?
Yeah, that's completely in my realm of doing things, and yeah, I would love to take a look at it, and she can give me a call anytime and set up a meeting and go take a look at it for
her. Okay, so Patricia, the answer is Amy. That's what it. Jamie's not here, so he can't compete for the business. So it's all about it's all about.
We'll guilt him in that.
Yeah, Shannon says it's getting her excited in the yard to do some improvements.
Yes, definitely. We're all excited. We're all itching to get out there and make things look pretty.
Yeah. What do you think is you're going to have a lot of people really busy right now. What are some things that people can do for themselves to make it a little bit easier so that stuff can go quicker? Ultimately they're asking you to offer a service, but is there something that they can do to prepare for it?
What if I could tell everybody one thing, it would be to call landscapers in January or call them in December before the spring season. Be proactive. If you're building a house, get the landscapers involved prior to the siding being done. Get the landscapers done prior to framing being done, because there's so many different aspects from elevations. You have grade changes. You might need a retaining wall. Those are things that landscapers need to know about prior to the house going in and getting in and taking care of those things even before landscaping takes place. But if you haven't contacted a landscaper prior to March or April, you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to be patient with all of us, because we're all busy and everybody's in the same boat. So if it's a small project, know that most landscapers here locally anyway, they can take care of small projects. Those are kind of great little filler jobs between our larger projects. And if it's just making a bed for someone or planting some plants for someone, those are things that we use as fillers, and we can kind of get in, in May and June. Most people around here want things done before Memorial Day. They want things done before 4th of July, and they want things done before Labor Day. So we kind of work in stages, okay, here's everything that needs to be done before Memorial Day. And then, just, we have to be realistic with our clients as well. So just let them know what we can handle and what we can't handle. And, we're doing the best we can.
So for those who can't afford someone like yourself and they're just like, well, what are the things that they can do which are the biggest bang for the buck without like breaking the bank?
My thing is color. If you can add perennials to your gardens that come back every year and you can get a lot of color, there's a lot of perennials that bloom all season long. I mean, there are some perennials that literally flower from the end of May until August 1st. One of them that's my favorite is the Millennium. It's the and now look, I'm having a mind blank. But things like Coreopsis, it'll bloom all summer long. So there's just a lot of really great perennials. It doesn't take much to add color to a garden bed. You can plant in groups of threes. Plant 3 Coreopsis in a garden bed, or plant a couple of knockout shrub roses. Something that'll give you that color all season long. That's usually, if someone's just on a budget and they just want to spruce up their yard, that is one of the quickest ways to do it. It's just to add a few perennials that bloom all summer long.
And what about, so here's a question, mulch. I want to know, I've always wondered, people like colored mulch. Once it's colored, is that bad for the garden? Like, that just seems to me to be counterintuitive. I don't know.
It's more for the pop, I think. I'm typically not a fan of colored mulch because it's just it's a dyed product. I like natural mulch, like natural hardwood or cedar mulch. A lot of people like to use cedar mulch because they say, keeps the bugs away from the foundation of their home. I like the smell of it personally. But a lot of hardwood mulches are good. You can get them where they're shred really fine. And that kind of has more of this, almost like a protective natural barrier between, the soil and the air. And what that does is it keeps weeds under control, helps block in the moisture, and then you don't get these big chunks of man-made material or trees in your beds. And it's really easy to rake out. It's really easy to plant through if you want to keep planting. So I usually recommend a natural. And if you're going to go with something that's dyed, let's do something that looks more natural, like a dark chocolate brown or a black mulch.
That's interesting. I never knew that, like shredding, like it makes perfect sense the way you explain it, but using shredded over the big chunky bits.
Yeah, like a double processed hardwood it really is one of my favorites, and it's really small pieces. So basically you're just raking in like another layer of topsoil almost. And then when it starts to degrade, it kind of just turns into the composted topsoil at the end of the year.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What do you think? What is your favorite material to use? Both planting, hardscape, softscape. When somebody chooses something inside you, like for instance, I love a vintage home, and my heart is like, ah! What do you use in your business that makes you like? Ah?
Most people that know me and my guys that work for me, they all know that probably hydrangeas are my favorite. Plain and simple, that is my favorite. Because I am a plant person. That plants are what make me happy. I have over the years become more of a hardscape person and doing the outdoor kitchens and designing spaces. But my love of what I do comes from plants, and hydrangeas. They probably are hands down my favorite plant. And anybody that knows me or anybody that's had me put in a garden, they have hydrangeas in their landscape. They bring color all summer long. Most of the people that are my clients are here in the summertime and they want that color. So we use little lime hydrangeas, we use endless summers, all the ones that are really hardy here and take as little maintenance as possible. Proven Winners has a really nice line. They have the Paris, the city line. It's the Paris, the Venice, the Rio. Those are more of a dwarf variety of hydrangeas. So you can kind of tuck them in anywhere and they get these fabulous, like big red, pink, blue balls on them. Yeah, hands down my favorite plant and what you will always find in my designs.
I'm a big fan. I grew up with the things that I remember growing up. We had azaleas and hydrangeas. Like we had massive areas of hydrangeas and azaleas. Are you a blue or a pink girl? I know that I never knew there was such a thing until I came here. It's called the oak leaf one. I'm
The
like
oak
in
leaf
love.
hydrangea?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. I love it's so different and it just I don't know. It makes me happy.
The oak leaves are great because they add such a great fall color foliage. The leaves on the oak leaf hydrangeas get that fire red color, and with the contrast of the changing from the white flower to that really dark pink. Yes, those are great, and those tolerate some more shade. So some hydrangeas need a little more sun, and some will do well in a shadier location. And they like the acidic soil, so under pine trees, which I see you have that lovely spruce tree behind your head, like a hydrangea would be beautiful under something. Yes, under that. It gets a little bit of like, that sunshine, but it's not too shaded, but they have the acidic soil. So the acidic soil makes those hydrangeas really nice and blue. I like the ones that kind of are pink and blue. When you look at a plant, you'll see there's some pink ones on there, and then there's some blue ones on there. I think that's probably my favorite.
So I've always been told it's either acid or alkaline. If you've got something that's both pink and blue, how do you take care of that?
Yeah, it's usually like however the soil is. So one plant will actually get one that's pink and get one that's blue. So it's probably just a little combination of what's going on underneath the ground and what's in the soil.
We just got punked, so I'm just deleting some comments. Sorry. Sorry. Very. I. When you suddenly see something like that, it freaks you out completely, and you're like, "Oh my god!" So, like, what do you? But what do you do? You said you don't do much in your own garden because you're so busy. Is there anything you do for yourself?
Sometimes I'll grow some herbs or vegetables. That's about by the time I'm done at the end of the day, I don't have time to even think about watering anything or pruning anything or planting anything. Yeah, it's a long season, and we work from sun up to sundown, and at the end of it, there's very little I can do for myself. So yeah, some vegetables and herbs.
So they don't want their comment up, but is it hard to put in sprinkler systems?
Your underground irrigation?
Hmm.
No, it's relatively simple. Especially new builds. New builds are great for putting in that underground sprinkler system before you lay the sod or before you put the grass in. But it's pretty simple to do. Even once you have an established lawn and you already have the sod laid and the grass established, because it's pretty unevasive. We take a trencher in and can lay the lines, and half the time you won't even know we're there.
Well, that's great. So if your phone was running off the hook, are you now going to be booked out for like 3 months, or how long do you think you're going to be booked out for trying to catch up?
Because we didn't know what this looked like. We didn't know if we were gonna be allowed to go back to work today, tomorrow, next week, next month. I haven't even really sat down and looked to see what my new schedule looks like. I had it perfect. March 1st, I knew what my schedule looked like. I knew how long things were gonna take. Yeah, we're probably easily going into fall before we can even look at taking any new projects on right now. But I am doing a lot of design work still for people and planning for even next year. I mean, I have a lot of people that I'm doing designs and stuff for now that they will be my next summer jobs.
All right.
But that doesn't mean the small projects can't still take place. Just some of the larger ones are going to have to probably wait until later in the season.
Yeah. So basically, they still should get in touch with you now so that they can get on the list, and that way you can figure it out. Because I mean, you never know when something comes up, and you won't. Have you ever had I look at the way I had a listing that was coming up, we're now delayed. Do you ever have it that a job just disappears for a while or even permanently that you then have to fill that space?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So, and we do, we basically go down, the list of, when I took that first deposit check, and, that's how they kind of get placed in order. and then based on where their house is in the building schedule. A lot of times the builders we work with, some of them want us to get in prior to the building being completed, and then others want us to be there, right after the house is painted. So, a lot of our schedule has that flexibility, but for the most part, most of our houses, that when they're on the schedule, materials are being ordered, they're being delivered, and we're ready to go. So yeah, it is. It's going to be a challenging summer for scheduling, that's for sure. But I think we can make it work, and we can get things done that we need to get done.
So I have a question here. Are there any plants that you recommend people don't plant just because it's a waste of time? Or I'm going to ask on that. Are there any plants you wouldn't recommend because they're going to take over? Because I know of a couple where I've seen things and I'm like, oh my.
Yeah, and trust me, I mean, I've planted things. I'm like, oh, why did I put that there? That just did not work. But we all learn and live. And sometimes we really like what it looks like when it's small, and then once it starts to get bigger, I say rip it out if you don't like the way it looks at that point. That's the good thing about landscaping. It's minus some of the hardscape work. It's not permanent. You can plant it because you love the way it looks now, and then if you don't like the way it looks in 2 years, rip it out. But a lot of the things I like are ornamental. Like I like ornamental things. We have some really great garden centers and nurseries in our local area that specialize in unique. There's some really cool, unique plants, some weeping sculptured plants, things like that. Sometimes those are great focal points for a garden. And then, the things that you want underneath those focal points, just don't make them so, pronounced or whatever. And if they do start to take over, yeah, get them out because they will just keep going and they will choke out everything in your garden for sure. So there's nothing specific.
Given where we live, are there things that people ask for and you're like, well, I can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it?
Oh, all the time. All the time. But like I said, we're really lucky to live in the area we do because we can pretty much grow anything. But there are some tropicals. People try to put tropicals in the ground and dig the bulbs up and put them in the garage, like dahlias, for instance. They're probably one of my favorite flowers. But who has time for that? Not this girl. But it's because you have to pull the bulbs up in the fall. You have to put them in buckets of peat moss. You have to store them in your garage. But that they are absolutely beautiful. So, it depends on how much work you want to do and how much time you're willing to invest in those things that you love and you enjoy. And a lot of clients that live here year round, they can invest and they have the time and they love to be in their gardens. And then you have clients that, they use this house as their second home and they're only here on the weekends and they want to come up and it be beautiful when they get here and don't want to think about it another minute, and they don't want to do a lot of work when they're here.
What's the best way in that case for low maintenance? What type of landscaping are you recommending for something that's going to be low maintenance?
There are a lot of things that you can do that are low maintenance. Just like your standard boxwoods, they're low maintenance. They require some trimming in the spring and maybe midsummer, but most of the time perennials, not a lot of annuals. Annuals give you that color, but you have to plant them every year. So just a lot of flowering shrubs, a lot of perennials that have a lot of color, ground covers that just kind of help fill in the beds, and then you don't have a lot of weeds coming through. And then if you do want something that's going to be nice, then you're going to have to hire someone to basically take care of it because beds can get out of control in a season. I mean, it doesn't even take a full season for beds to be overrun and unkempt and weeds everywhere. So, it's definitely something that you have to maintain. And if you're not going to be here to maintain it on a regular basis, you're going to have to hire someone to help you maintain those things.
And that's where you come in, right?
That's where I come in.
And all of Jamie's clients are now going to go to Amy because Jamie chickened out on it.
No. Oh, no. Yeah.
I'm hoping he's watching because he should be feeling guilty right now. I was gonna
I know because he has some really cool things going on that that are out of my realm that I don't even.
Exactly. I was really excited to talk.
I know he's got some really great seawall projects going on, and my guys, I don't want them to go swimming in Lake Michigan anytime soon. So he does a lot of things that his company does a lot of things that we don't even want to do. I always say I like to make things look pretty, and Jamie usually likes the big equipment and to do the big
Yeah.
rocks and the things that not in my forte.
What I also love about you two, which everybody else might not know, but if you're a local, maybe you do, is how well these guys work together. They've got two different companies and you might think that they're in competition, but in reality, they actually work together on some stuff, and they'll come up, somebody will ask one of them to do something and they'll be like, well, actually that's in Amy's wheelhouse or whatever. And I love that. In fact, you'll even see them hanging out at Julia's, having a little collaborative coffee. And that's one of the things I like. A lot of people don't understand that most of us in town are not always in competition. There's a lot of work to go around, and we can really back each other up and support each other.
Oh, and I take great pride in this community, and I mean, we try to buy local. We buy from the local landscapers that are doing the same thing we're doing, but have the product. And I think that's the great thing about South Haven is the camaraderie we do have, and where we all support each other. And yes, and I mean, I am impressed daily with what other landscapers do, and I learn from them. I'm like, oh, that was a great idea. I'm like, I'm gonna try that next time. So we work off of each other, we play off of each other, and we all get so busy that I'm like, I don't have time for this, because I'm a small company. I don't have a lot of employees. I have my 10 employees and myself, and we get done what we can get done in a season. Some of these other companies, they have a lot of employees, they have a lot of equipment, and they can do more. Hands down, they can do more. And Jamie's one of those companies. He has lots of big equipment. He has lots of trucks and trailers, and he has lots of employees. Oh, that's just as we think about.
All right. So the final thing is, obviously you're able to go back, which is fantastic. But what have you been doing with your time while you've been isolated? Have you done anything different? Have you done anything for yourself?
Not really. I've been really worried, actually. So I've done a lot of things with just trying to make sure that the company is going to have enough cash flow to pay everybody and stay afloat all summer long. And I know a lot of companies in this town, they're all worried. I would like to give a huge shout out though to Sturgis Bank, because my banker there, my personal banker there, she has been wonderful on getting the small companies and the loans we need to get through this time, and to help us with our payroll, to keep some guys off of unemployment and things of that nature. So I shout out to Sturgis Bank, because small local bank like that has helped small business like myself, be able to make it through this craziness and this pandemic we have in front of us. So yes.
Let's shout out your personal banker as well. Who's that?
Well, Stephanie was the one that I worked with at Sturgis, and she, like I said, I've heard nightmares about the larger banks and just dropping the ball. That's what I've really been working on the last month, minus designs and stuff, just been working on how we're going to keep business going and what this is going to look like for us afterward. Because, we don't know what the economy is going to look like. The economy's been so great the last 7 years, and, people have been spending money on their homes and doing all this great stuff, but we don't know what our future looks like right now. And we don't know what kind of jobs we're going to be doing, what kind of building is going to be going on, what kind of houses and stuff are going to be being built right now. So we just have to plan for the future, but not know what the future looks like exactly.
That's right. Fingers crossed you're back on it now. You guys will be out there probably 7 days a week now, right?
Yeah. So if it doesn't rain, now we need the snow to make sure it goes away, and the rain needs to go away.
Yeah. If we could just get a little warmth in the world, that would be fantastic. All right.
Yes,
all right. I'm going to say goodbye, wait around, and I'll talk to you in a second.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll get Amy to answer them. Thank you so much for joining us. As you all probably heard yesterday at the 11 o'clock meeting with the governor, the landscapers and our garden are back at work. Realtors still not, but they are. So if you need your lawn mowed or you need to get something organized, you probably want to get on top of it, because as Amy said, her phone was ringing off the hook. Thanks for joining us, and see you around. Bye.